Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel here, and that is a opportunity for all of us to look at the NXT review series and the NXT event for last evening, the Great American Bash, which honestly I think is a shot at Cody and the AEW brand, but whatever. Anyway, as much as I hate to admit it because I'm an AEW supporter, they got trounced last night with quality of wrestling action anyway by the NXT Great American Bash Show, in my opinion. Would love to hear your opinion below. But, so let's see. The Great American Bash set kind of features some sports cars and an entrance ramp, modern sports feel, and a classic red, white, and blue ropes that bring back my childhood. Um, anyway, Mountain Dew is the sponsor for the lack of commercials for the evening, and they are uh, they are plugged relentlessly throughout the evening. Anyway, we open with the four-way women's championship fatal four-way matchup. Elimination style, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, Candice LeRae are all defeated by Tegan Knox. First time I've really seen something in Knox, and I know I'm late to the party, but I missed her rise while I was in the nursing rehab facility I was in. Only really came back to NXT and whatnot maybe late October, early November of last year. So didn't really get to see a lot of that stuff. Knox is the number one contender for Io Shirai's championship. The order of elimination is LeRae, who is pinned by Mia Yim. They will continue their battle. And very soon down the road, Yim pinned by Dakota Kai and Kai pinned by Knox to win the match. LeRae always looks good, always looks strong. Probably the best in terms of character development in the area as far as NXT is concerned anyway. She does a springboard plancha early that is just something that needs to be seen. If you are not a normal NXT viewer, I would go out of your way to watch this. It's kind of like a takeover on television is the best way I would describe it. So you know you're going to get good quality of action there. Let's see. There is an apron spot that almost ends quite badly for LeRae and Dakota Kai. So watch for that as well. LeRae gets a good bit of offense before Mia Yim finally puts her down. Yim and Knox briefly team up, and there's a double team code breaker, and that leads to obviously Yim getting the pin. She goes nuts, meaning Mia Yim, for the next several minutes, doing a couple tope spots to the outside. Rana's on the outside. Knox tries to catch Yim with a crucifix. Yim delivers soul food to Knox on the inside. Knox fell out of the ring after this, which means Yim can't follow up. Kai snuck in, catches Yim with the O'Connor roll. Been a while since we've seen one of those. Kai bridged into a cover and eliminates Yim via the pinfall. Kai works over Tegan Knox for a good several minutes. They exchange strikes. The yay boo that the crowd usually does is done poorly by the wrestlers here. There is an NXT chant, and they try to beat up the plexiglass at one point. Knox fires up and goes after Kai, and she is fighting back, goes for several near falls, gets several near falls, can't get it done. Kai shows a mean streak, and Knox never backs down. Knox goes for the Shining Wizard, but Kai avoids it, catches Knox in a crucifix. Knox then out. Kai transitioned her into a submission finisher, and Nox is able to escape, and she executed a Molly go around with a 360 off the top rope into a press of some sort. Nox then hits the shiniest wizard, covers Kai for the deciding pinfall. Damian Priest cuts a promo on Cameron Grimes, challenges him to a rematch, I believe, next week. Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai is tonight's main event and will be commercial free. Oh boy, fun match next. Timothy Thatcher and Oni Lorcan. Man, why Oni Lorcan and Timothy Thatcher, for that matter, aren't on the main roster, I do not know. Both of them know how to wrestle with a capital W. If you like Dean Malenko, if you like Zack Sabre Jr., if you like Eddie Guerrero, if you like old school Kurt Angle, if you like pro wrestling, this is a match for you. They do a ton of mat grappling early on. Thatcher's compared to Stu Hart in commentary. There's takedowns and leg locks and arm locks and counters and just insane mat stuff. If you are a wrestling school student or plan to be in the future, please watch this. Several near falls, lots of chain wrestling. Lorcan is the first to use strikes, and he hits Thatcher with some serious chops. I mean, thunderous ones. Lorcan gets knocked to the outside before the commercial break. Anyway, Thatcher sets up for a belly-to-belly suplex, and it looked like a fight. It didn't look like they were cooperating at all. They go strike for strike with each other for a few minutes. Lorcan catches Thatcher in a half crab. Lorcan, of course, training with Lance Storm. That's mentioned several times throughout the contest. Thatcher eventually works his way into applying a Fujiwara armbar right in the middle of the ring. Lorcan forced to tap out, but he looks like $1 million in the tap out. Thatcher refuses to break the hold. He finally does break it, and he obviously is smiling at the pain he is causing for Oni Lorcan. Rhea Ripley defeated Aaliyah and Robert Stone. Ripley submits them both, and she looks like a world beater, which is good. Stone has ring jacket gear, and he looks like a wannabe boxer here. Think Mark Merrow from like 1998. And he's got goggles, and he's got a whole bunch of other apparatus. He even does the Ali Shuffle at one point. Aaliyah there with a tilt-a-whirl head scissors helped to get their duo the advantage for a moment, but a very short moment. Ripley uses her power just a few moments later. Stone jumps in, tries to break things up, begs off and runs away. Cat and mouse where Stone is running the majority of the match. And Stone crashes and burns on an attempted plancha. Ripley then was distracted with Stone, allowing Aaliyah to fly in and nail a dive before they cut to commercial. Post-break, Stone and Aaliyah were getting heat on Rhea Ripley. Stone's applying a Boston Crab. Aaliyah applies a crossface of her own. So, double suplex on Ripley, and Ripley reverses a second attempt on the suplexes, and she begins her comeback. She goes nuts, cleans house, and she just tosses Stone around like he's nothing. Ripley applies a standing leg lock finisher on both Stone and Aaliyah, and gets a stereo prism trap. They both tap out, and Rhea Ripley looks like $1 million. Finally, although her rebuild needs more than just this match to be successful. Dexter Lumis, Roderick Strong in a strap match. This was long. Lumis finally does win. Rules were pin and submission inside the ring instead of touching the corners. Strong is nervous in the beginning. He doesn't want to go at Lumis very much. He doesn't want to get hooked up to the strap either. They finally do it. Strong begs off. Nowhere to go. Strong eventually able to cut Lumis off. Not long. They fight outside the ring. They fight on the ramp and the stage. Lumis opens up a trunk of a car parked as part of the set that we mentioned earlier. And Strong started to freak out with this and nails Lumis with a series of knees and kicks. Strong gives an Olympic slam to Lumis on the floor. Strong takes over at this point. Lumis is grounded for a good bit. And Lumis then whips him with a strap. Lumis threw a hard lariat and a comeback. Hits a running bulldog. Gets a 2 count from that. Nails a slingshot suplex. Lumis whips Strong around and straps him. And then Strong hogties Lumis, rather, with the strap. And then he applies his stronghold. Lumis escapes, but he's taking over on offense. Bobby Fish runs in, attacks Lumis. Fish sweeps the leg. This allows a high kick by Strong. Lumis kicks out and kind of hulks up a bit. Fish is suplexed, knocked around by Lumis. Strong is sent colliding into Fish. Finish leads to Lumis wrapping up Strong in the strap and spun him around with the Rainmaker Uranagai combo. Lumis applies his submission finisher, the silencer, and Strong taps out. And this is unfortunate because Roderick Strong is being wasted. Next, we get hype for the champion versus champion, Adam Cole and Keith Lee next week. This was well done. Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano are being interviewed backstage. LeRae suddenly storms away and starts to brawl with Mia Yim. Isaiah Scott tries to break up the fight. Gargano gets in his face. Obviously, that's where they're going for both of them. Cruiserweight champion Santos Escobar with his henchmen Mendoza and Wild, or El Ligero de Fantasma. They're out for a promo. Escobar yells about the state of Lucha Libre, how it's now a sideshow. He wants to restore and bring a new legacy to the honor of Lucha Libre. And they're going to leave a legacy, build an empire. Drake Maverick makes his way out, wearing a neck brace. He interrupts. He rushes into the ring. He gets tossed around by 3 guys, as to be expected. Escobar takes a free shot. Tyler Breeze and Fandango run down for the save. Breezango clears the ring. We are announced that the El Ligero de Fantasma will face Fandango and Breeze and Drake Maverick next week as part of the second night of the Great American Bash. Cameron Grimes just has a phenomenal, crazy promo. He's over the top. He's fun to watch. He's just declaring himself to be a future number 1 contender, future champion. He wants Lee or Cole, doesn't matter whoever it is. Then they move to the main event of the evening, Io Shirai and Sasha Banks with Bayley. Shirai pins Banks in probably one of the better matches lengthwise that they have had in NXT or anywhere for a while yet. So Shirai does get the pin. There's a few clunky spots in the match, but for the most part, they do a pay-per-view caliber offering. I would even say an upper echelon one. But, so, this is good. And Banks arrives in a convertible alongside her partner and her pet corgi, which I think is funny. They start methodically and soon quicken the pace. Shirai with a massive drop kick early sent Banks rolling to the outside. Shirai through the ropes with a high crossbody to the floor. Shirai is looking for a superplex. Bayley distracts her, honking the horn. Innovative distraction spot there. Banks trips up Shirai, covers her for near fall. Banks goes to give Shirai the double knee for another near fall. Banks looks really good here. She always does, but I mean, she's to go to the level with Shirai is a whole nother, I think, level of intensity that we haven't seen from Sasha in a little while. Anyway, Banks continues to work over Shirai until a flying head scissors catches her and causes separation between the two, and they exchange a Super Frankensteiner. Shirai goes after Banks with a series of tackles, and they rise to their feet. Banks counters a double underhook and went to set up for her submission finisher. Shirai avoids this, and there's an awkward German suplex spot, which doesn't look too good at all. Shirai's caught with the Banks statement, but Shirai is able to counter and cradles Banks. They trade pinfall attempts momentarily, and then there's a double stomp by Shirai. She then goes into the attempted finishing sequence, and she delivers double knees in the corner. Shirai climbs to the ropes, seemingly to go for her moonsault press, but Banks trips her up and ties her to the Tree of Woe. Banks taunts her for the next few seconds here, and Banks slipped slaps her across the face. Banks measures her for the running knee strike, only for Shirai to dodge that move and crash into the corner. Shirai with a moonsault press. Banks rolls out of the way. Shirai into the kick, and then Banks hits a Meteora. Shirai kicks out at 2.5. So surprised that Banks uses the Meteora without getting the win there. Banks avoids a second attempt at the Tiger Fey kick. They're trading strikes, and Shirai is able to go for a springboard. Sasha catches her with a kick. Banks follows up with a sunset flip through the ropes into a powerbomb, and that goes into the glass, which is just painful looking. Banks gloats at ringside. She climbs the turnbuckle. Banks goes for frog splash. Easy for me to say. Shirai counters, catches her in a crossface. Banks is struggling to make the ropes. Bayley tosses in one of the tag team championship belts. Referee removes that. Bayley hits a cheap shot while the ref's distracted. And then Bayley gets into a tug of war with the referee over the championship belt. Meanwhile, Banks goes to retrieve the other one. Banks goes to grab the belt. Suddenly, Asuka appears to stop her from using it, and Asuka spits mist in the face of Banks. Shirai with a schoolgirl for 2 count. Shirai drops Banks with a palm strike, and then she wipes out Bayley with the wrecking ball dropkick. Shirai moonsaulted back into the ring on Banks and gets the pinfall. Awesome way to close the program. Awesome show except for the Loomis match overall, and it's a definite note that when the WWE NXT crew is allowed to do all their best work, when they bring it, AEW is still a step or two behind, except in storytelling, but in ring, I think they're a step or two behind when the chips are down, competitively speaking. Anyway, until next time, We are going to get back to the Saturday Night's Main Event series this week as well. But until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.